Okay, let's just get right into it. Right now, there is a huge, and I mean huge, opportunity opening up for businesses and investors all across New England. This is one of those moments, a real chance to get in on the ground floor of something that's going to shape global trade for years to come.
And that really brings us to the big question, right? The whole reason we're talking about this. A new global race is kicked off. The stakes? They couldn't be any higher. So what we've got to ask is New England actually ready for this? Are we ready to compete? So to really get a handle on this opportunity, you have to know what started it all. Think of it like a starting pistol at a race. This wasn't some slow, gradual change. Nope, this whole thing was kicked off by one single, really important event.
And that moment, it was February 4th, 2026. That's when the U.S. State Department held this huge global meeting, the Critical Minerals Ministerial. That was the starting gun. But here's the kicker, and this is the most important part. The system is still being built. Right now, today. That means the door is wide open for people to get involved, but, that door isn't going to stay open forever.
So, what was the big deal about this meeting? Well, it was all about getting a lock on the raw materials that power, well, literally everything. We're talking about the stuff you need for AI systems, for the batteries in every single electric vehicle, for critical defense technology, and for the entire clean energy revolution. This isn't just about business anymore. Getting these supply chains right is a matter of national security.
And the biggest takeaway from that whole summit was this. The U.S. government basically stood up and said, we can't do this alone. They made it crystal clear. This was a direct shout out to the private sector, to companies, to investors, to entrepreneurs, telling them, we need you to help build this. We need you to lead.
Okay, so we've got a global race on our hands and a clear signal for the private sector to jump in. So where does New England fit into all this? Well, this next part, this is the aha moment. This is where it gets really interesting, and it's all right here in the numbers.
So let's start with just how big the business community is here. Just look at Massachusetts. We're talking about roughly 756,000 small businesses. I mean, think about that. That is a massive engine for innovation just sitting there, ready to go.
And these aren't just local shops, right? They're already playing on the world stage. Massachusetts alone exports almost $35 billion in goods. So we're not talking about a region that's just getting started in global trade. It's a powerhouse. But, and this is a big but, wow. Okay, look at this. This chart just says it all. You see that huge bar? That's the $34.9 billion in global exports. And then look at that tiny, tiny little sliver next to it. That's what goes to Africa. 130 million. The difference is just staggering. It's not a gap, it's a canyon. And that canyon represents a massive overlooked opportunity. Let's put a number on it. Less than half of 1%. 0.4%. That's it. When you see a number that low in today's world, it's not telling you there's no opportunity. It's screaming that there's a huge, completely untapped market just waiting.
So here's the bottom line. The reason for this gap isn't a lack of business to be done. It's simpler than that. The connections are missing. The bridges just haven't been built yet. And for an investor or a business owner, that right there, that is the opportunity.
Okay, so if the problem is missing connections, well, the solution is pretty obvious, right? We need to build some bridges. And what's amazing is that New England and Africa are almost a perfect match. It's like two puzzle pieces that are meant to fit together. And this really lays it out perfectly. It's a symbiotic relationship. Think about it. New England has the technology, the manufacturing, the capital. Africa has the raw materials, a massive young workforce, and markets that are growing like crazy. Each one has exactly what the other one is looking for. It's a perfect fit. And let's be clear about New England's side of the equation. We're not just talking about a couple of big-name companies. This is a whole industrial corridor packed with thousands upon thousands of tech and manufacturing firms in every state: Massachusetts, Connecticut, New Hampshire, all of them. It's this incredible powerhouse of innovation that's just ready to be unleashed. But look, it's about more than just factories and code. At the end of the day, these massive supply chains, they're built by people. They run on trust. And that's where a city like Boston has this really unique advantage. You've got the world-class universities, the VC networks, all these places where global leaders meet. It's a natural hub for building the kind of trust you need for these long-term partnerships to work.
All right, so the why is pretty clear, right? The opportunity is massive. So the next question is the how. How do you actually plug into this? How does a real business or an investor get started? let's get into the nuts and bolts.
First thing you need to know, and this is so important, you don't have to go it alone. There is a whole support system out there from the government to help make this less risky. And forget trying to remember all the acronyms, okay? Just think about what you need. Need to insure your exports? That's the Exim Bank. Worried about political risk? The DFC helps with that. Need to find deals? Prosper Africa is like a matchmaker for business. You've even got local help from the Mass Export Center to teach you how to do it and grants to help pay for it. The help is there.
Now, if you're one of the big players, a major corporation, a big investment fund, your path is all about going big. We're talking about directly investing in building out the infrastructure, financing the actual factories that will process the minerals in Africa, and partnering up to build these supply chains from scratch. This is nation-building level stuff.
But hey, you don't need to be a giant corporation to get in on this. Not at all. If you're a smaller family office or even a solo investor, there are tons of ways in. You could invest in the tech and logistics companies that are like the picks and shovels of this gold rush. You can fund some of the incredible tech startups emerging across Africa. You can join funds that specialize in this. It's a place where being smart and fast can actually be a bigger advantage than just being big.
So let's just be really honest about the roadblocks here. The problem isn't the opportunity itself. The business case is solid. The real challenges are things that can be solved. It's about knowing who to talk to, getting good information, understanding the real risks versus the perceived risks, and finding partners you can trust. These are solvable problems.
And that brings us to the final point, maybe the most important one of all. It's one thing to see an opportunity like this. It's another thing entirely to act on it. And folks, the clock is definitely ticking.
You know, it boils down to a simple truth. The early bird gets the worm. When you have a massive global shift like this, the people who move first are the ones who build the key relationships, who lock in the best deals, and who see the biggest returns down the line. The rewards go to the people who take action.
So I want to leave you with this. This isn't some abstract idea about what might happen in the future. It's happening right now. As we speak, the foundations of these new supply chains are being poured, the deals are being made, the money is moving. So the only question left to ask is, where are you going to be? Are you going to be watching from the sidelines, or are you going to be in the game?